Welcome to the English class, children. In the previous class, we had seen how Dr. Sadao had met Hannah at a professor's house in America and how he fell in love with her. Although he wanted to marry her, he waited. And he waited to find out whether she was really pure in race. Pure in race, that day I think I told you that she was born to Japanese parents. Okay, not to parents belonging to two different countries or two different races. Okay, so, and when he found out that she was really pure in race, they did not just end up in marrying in America, but they waited, they completed their studies, and then returned to Japan, and then they took the consent of his father, and then got married. And even today, after having two children, they have that love that they had is still to be seen between them. So this was where we stopped that day, isn't it? So shall we start from where we stopped? That is, today we are going to start with page 26, paragraph 2. It was at this moment that both of them saw something black come out of the mist. So when, I think you remember, they were standing outside the house, and that is when in the veranda, they were standing in the veranda, means very passionately close to each other with love, care and affection. That is when they saw that a black figure could be seen at a distance in the mist. It was a man. He was flung out of the ocean. It seemed to his feet by a breaker. So here they felt that as if a figure, dark black figure, was coming out from the sea, and it banged its leg against the breaker, and then it flung. Okay. He staggered a few steps. Staggered means as if unable to walk properly, like the drunkards move. Okay, staggered a few steps, his body outlined against the mist, his arms above his head. Then the curled mist hid him again. Then again, after a little while, he tried to move forward, and then again they could not see anything of him. Who was that? Hannah cried. She dropped Sadao's arm, and they both leaned over the railing of the veranda. So suddenly, when he was hidden behind the mist, they again started thinking, who was that? Who could that be at this time of night? Okay, and they both leaned over lean means bending forward, as if to make out what or who that person or thing was. Okay, what was that thing? Now they saw him again. The man was on his hands and knees, crawling. So again the mist faded away, and they could see that man, and this time the man had fallen down. He was crawling on his knees and hands, like children do, small kids, okay, before they start walking. Then they saw him fall on his face and lie there. Then he fell down completely, and he was lying there on the ground. A fisherman, perhaps, Sadao said, washed from his boat. Maybe because it's seashore. So maybe some fisherman might have lost his way and might have been drowned and might have reached this shore due to the waves. He ran quickly down the steps, and behind him Hannah came, her white sleeves flying. So he ran. He is a doctor-minded, and above all, that humane quality. If you see a man fall down, you will not have that instinct to stand and say, whoever, I'm least bit bothered. You'll have that tendency to just check who that person is. Okay, so Sadao runs, and behind him, Hannah follows him, and her sleeves are flying in the air. A mile or two away, on either side, there were fishing villages, and here was only the bare and lonely coast, dangerous with rocks. The surf beyond the beach was spiked with rocks. Somehow, the man had managed to come through them. He must be badly torn. So, he might have traveled because the the villages of the people who go out fishing, they are 1 or 2 miles away from this place. Okay, and this nobody comes to this coast because this coast actually the water near the coast has spiked rocks, pointed rocks, and if you dare to go near it, you might get injured. So, and maybe this man, as he has crossed that water near the beach, he might also have been badly torn. Badly torn means he might also have been badly injured, wounded. Okay. They saw when they came towards him that indeed it was so. So when Sadao and Hannah reached near this man, they really found that yes, this man was bleeding heavily. He was really wounded. The sand on one side of him had already a stain of red soaking through. So the sand had become red color. Okay, near him. The reason was he was bleeding heavily, and the blood had stained the sand where he was lying. He was wounded, Sadao exclaimed. He is wounded, Sadao exclaimed. So Sadao said, oh, he is wounded, doctor, okay. He made haste to the man who lay motionless, his face in the sand. So Sadao rushes towards the man, and this man is lying motionless. He has become unconscious. Okay, and his face is lying in the sand, so you cannot see his face properly. An old cap stuck to his head, soaked with seawater. This man has an old cap on his head, and it is full of seawater. It's soaked in seawater. He was in wet rags of garment. Rags, torn pieces of dress. So his dress was wet and it was torn from all sides. Sadao stopped, Hannah at his side, and turned the man's head. They saw the face. So Sadao turned the man because his face was inside the mud, so he turned him upside. And that is when Hannah and Sadao saw the face of this man. A white man, Hannah whispered. So Hannah, in a very low voice, she said, oh, it's a white man. And remember, it's the background is the war between Americans and Japanese. So a white man means their enemy. So that is the expression. Yes, it was a white man. The wet cap fell away, and there was his wet yellow hair, long, as though for many weeks it had not been cut, and upon his young and tortured face was a rough yellow beard. He was unconscious and knew nothing that they did for him. So, yes, this man was a white man, and his wet cap fell away, and he had that yellow hair. Yellow hair means that blonde color. The Americans, the color of their hair is not black like us. It's yellowish. Okay. And then he had long hair. That shows that he did not have a haircut for a very long time. And this man was very young, and he that the tortures that he had experienced could be seen on his face. It was clearly seen on his face. So he on his tortured head face, sorry, was a rough yellow beard. So he had a beard also. I hope you know what beard is. Dadi. Okay, he had a yellow beard also. He was unconscious and knew nothing about what they were doing to him. So he fell unconscious, he was lying unconscious, and he did not know what Sadao and Hana were talking and what they were going to do to him, or what they were doing to him. Now Sada remembered the wound, and with his expert fingers, remember doctor, so expert fingers, with his expert fingers he began to search for it. Now suddenly, after seeing all these things, he came back to his real self, that is a doctor. And then he remembered the wound of this person, and with his expert hand of a doctor, he started feeling for the wound. He started touching the wound. Okay. Blood flowed freshly at his touch. So at a point, as soon as he touched that point, blood started oozing out, started flowing out. On the right side of his lower back, Sadao saw that a gun wound had been reopened. So, right side of his lower back, okay, that is where the wound was, and it was a gunshot. Somebody had shot him, and that wound was reopened, maybe because of the spiky rocks. This wound was reopened. The flesh was blackened with the powder, the gunpowder. Okay, the effect of the gunpowder, the wound, the flesh near the wound had become black. Sometime, not many days ago, the man had been shot and had not been tended. It was bad chance that the rock had struck the wound. So, maybe many days before he was shot, and he jumped into the sea maybe, and then from there he was carried to the shore. But the thing is that this wound was reopened by the spiky rocks on the sea beach, okay, in the water. So that had made things worse. Oh, how he is bleeding, Hannah whispered again in a solemn voice. Now see, women are always like that. They are very soft at heart. They cannot just just tolerate seeing someone bleeding, some accidents, these things. Women, they are very delicate as far as such things are concerned. And so Hannah was also totally tensed up. She says, oh, look how he's bleeding. The mist screened them now completely, and at this time of the day, no one came by. The fishermen had gone home, and even the beachcombers would have considered the day at an end. So, even the mist had covered the place, screened them means covered the whole place, and the fishermen also never came to this side, and it was dark, and even the beachcombers, they might have thought that the day might have come to an end. There's no more work to be done, so they might have also left the place. So what shall we do with this man? Now this is a valid question, Sadao muttered. Sadao started thinking, what can they do with this man? Okay, so children will stop here. Next day we'll continue with the lesson. So now the next day we'll start seeing what they are going to do with this particular man. Thank you, children. Have a good day.